Hello and welcome to Joyful, the podcast that will help you live a more joyful life. I'm your host, Chloe Markham, and it's my mission to help you find more joy every single day. This podcast is a deep dive into ways to reduce your stress, your overwhelm, anxiety, and that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, whilst also diving into the methods, philosophies, and protocols that help us live more connected, grounded, and ultimately happier lives. This is about living life on purpose. Without any further ado, let's dive into today's episode. I'm recording this on the 29th of November. It's actually the last episode of 2023. I'll talk about that more later, but it feels nice to be here with you. How are you doing? Hand on heart, how are you doing, babe? What's going on for you? Take a big breath in. Sigh it out and just allow your shoulders to soften and your jaw and your forehead and your hands. Can you just be here with me for the next however long this podcast is? And maybe you're driving or walking, doing some stuff. That's okay too, but you know what I mean? Just be present right now, just for this little chunk of time in your day. And that, I suppose, is the topic of today's conversation. A couple episodes back, I was speaking about happiness, right? The 4 pillars of happiness. And I think that's great, obviously. I recorded it. But it's almost a little bit trite. It's in, what is happiness? What is living a joyful life? It's just really interesting, isn't it? And I was speaking to, I've got a private client right now, and we were she said it best, actually. She said, it's really easy, Chloe, for me to be present and for me to enjoy the moment and be mindful and, you know, all of these things when the present moment is joyful and calm and easy. But I think that's the point, isn't it? That's the work. So that's kind of why I'm here today, to talk about, to have a conversation with you about enjoyment. What is it? Is enjoyment in your head? And I want you to really appraise yourself right now in your life. Is enjoyment this intangible future thing that you will get when X, Y, Z happens? Is happiness, is joy, all of that, is it a future thing? Is it abstract? Not really for the moment, because it's not right now. The moment isn't the way it should be. You don't have enough money, or you're not in the house you want to be in, or the stuff hasn't gone the way that you wanted it to go. So how can you possibly be happy in this moment, right? But I'm asking you a question. Is that how you see happiness and enjoyment and a joyful life, something abstract and future-based? And it's really funny, isn't it? If you go on like Instagram and search for happiness, you'll see so many memes and reels and whatever that say, happiness isn't about the future. It's about right now. It's really easy to say that. And again, going back to that episode a few episodes back where I spoke about these 4 pillars of happiness, I stand by them, and that's a really important metric, I think. They're really important tools to help us take stock of our lives and how we're living our lives, and they are really important things. But isn't it something the Buddhists say? Life is suffering. Life is suffering. So you know what, if you're listening to this episode right now and you're not stressed or in any emotional, physical pain, I love that for you. Stay in that moment. I mean, stay in any moment. But the fact is that you are going to get at some point in your future back to a stressed, painful place. There's no way around that. But I think the key isn't how often we get in stressful, painful, challenging places. That's going to happen regardless. I think the key for us living these or trying to live these mindful, engaged, what I would call yogic lives, is how we deal with those stressful, painful, challenging times. And that's sort of the point, isn't it? So I just want to stop talking abstract for a second. I've spoken quite a bit in this podcast about my PMS. I get bad PMS. I'm coming out of it right now, but bloody hell, if you know someone who deals with PMS, please give them a break. Give them some support. Ask them what they need. It fucking sucks. It's really quite challenging. And I get it quite badly at the moment because of various different things. And as well as that, I also get quite bad pain. And the reason I'm talking about this is because, I've kind of done this experiment on myself. So I get quite bad menstrual cramps. And again, if you are alive in the world, you probably know that they can be really quite painful. They can be really, traumatizing sometimes. What's really fascinating about it, and this is the point I want to make in this session today, is that I suppose my body's natural response, I'm curious if it's yours too, and we can replace menstrual cramps with anything, we'll in a second, but my natural response to that is to kind of brace myself. It's so funny, I was watching The Bear, actually. Have you guys seen that? My friend Kat, thank you for putting me onto that. She fancies the main guy. I forget his name, but it's really funny because he looks just like her husband. It's great. Anyway, I know I'm digressing, but bear with me. I was watching The Bear yesterday. It's this great show. I think it's on Disney+. And anyway, the main character goes to AA. And I'm going to butcher this, but he had a leaflet from the session, right? And on the leaflet, it said something really quickly. It said something like, allow yourself to be, or just give yourself space. Tension is really bad for this process. Tension is really bad for everything within this process. Tension, that word tension. And I read it and I was like, oh my God, yeah. What process is tension good for? Building bridges, sure, but I mean, in ourselves, our emotional selves, our lives, it's not good for much, really, is it? So if I go back to my cramps for a second, my physical pain, my natural response is to brace and to create tension around it because I don't want this to be here. I mean, okay, let me stick to that for a second before I go off on one. But then if I soften, if I'm like, okay, this is what it is, there's not an awful lot, aside from taking painkillers, that I can do. And there are things we can do, but there's not really. I'm in this moment. I've got menstrual cramps. It sucks. It fucking sucks. It's really painful. What am I going to do here? Add a layer of extra tension on top? No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, that's my natural go-to, but what if I don't do that? What if I just, okay, I'm here. I'm going to accept it. I'm going to relax my body around it. Give myself a bit of a break. It's okay, I'm in pain right now, that's okay. But also kind of allow myself to be in pain. So if we just shift this analogy for a second to something a bit more day-to-day, like being in traffic. Maybe you're late for something, right? We've all been in that situation. And I'm hoping that you've also experienced two sides of this coin. You're late for something, you're stuck in traffic, you're frustrated, you're tense. You know what I mean? You're bracing against reality. There's nothing, probably, that you can do when you're stuck in traffic and you're late for something. Aside from teleportation, and can I just say, communicating to involved parties. There's nothing you can do. You can't get there quicker. You're here now. It is what it is. But so often, we lay attention on top of it, just like with my physical pain. I shouldn't be here. This fucking sucks. Why is no one moving? This is horrible. I don't want to be here. You're drumming the dashboard, your steering wheel, you're tapping your feet. you're very much in this kind of like fight in your nervous system, like, oh, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. Very quick, very like, yeah, you're bracing against it, you're tensing, you're not enjoying it. It's almost like the adult version of toddler tantrums, and I find this with myself a lot. Life isn't the way that I want it to be right now. I don't live in this beautiful house that, I get to decorate myself. I live with my mum right now. I'm 33 years old and I still live with my mother, and it's okay. For lots of different reasons. It's okay. But like going back to the traffic jam thing, it's like what can we do just to enjoy that? To accept that, do you know what, this actually really sucks. This sucks. I'm going to be late. I'm going to be here for a while. But to layer on an acceptance. And to ask ourselves in that moment, what can I do to enjoy this a bit more? And I kind of don't even mean distracting yourself with a podcast or music or whatever. I kind of mean that in a more cerebral way. Do I mean cerebral? Maybe I don't. But you're sat in traffic. How can I enjoy this shitness of this moment a bit more? The stories I'm telling myself. The way I feel about this moment. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of a more emotive way of seeing a moment. So what's funny is when we're in like places of stress and pain and challenge, I think our natural response is to brace. And it's almost as if by bracing, we think we're going to give our bodies or this moment a solution. There's going to be a solution that comes if we're tense. But normally what happens is it just makes it worse. Maybe we're shifting into a shame for feeling the way that we're feeling about something. I don't know, maybe it's a chronic pain thing, chronic stress thing, depression, anxieties. It doesn't have to just be very easy, things that go wrong in our lives, like getting menstrual cramps and sitting in traffic. I want you just to see if you can lay this over whatever challenge comes up in your life. And when we tense against it, it's like, I don't know, it's so interesting, isn't it? I'm not a psychologist, I'm not sitting here pretending to understand our own psyche, but I'm just understanding this from my perspective and how I go through life and how I see it in my clients and my students. And it's really interesting. I think when we allow these times to be what they are, these painful, challenging times to be what they are, to ask for help when we need it, to, I suppose it's almost communicate that we're in pain, to allow yourself to be in pain, whether that's physical, mental, or otherwise. And we can put being late for a meeting as pain. That's painful. That's not nice, is it? It's not, life going your way. If we allow ourselves to just be there and express frustration for a second, for a moment, for as long as we need to, without feeling shame, whilst also then saying, how can I just be here right now? How can I enjoy myself in this moment? It's so, I don't know, and I don't want this to come across as like I'm taking away from you and the struggles that you're going through. That's not it at all. And I think, again, life is suffering. Life can be really challenging. I think my point here is that we give ourselves such a hard time when life doesn't go the way that we think it should be going for ourselves. And I think modernity makes this worse, as in, we're on social media and we're seeing that everybody else's life is so fucking perfect. You know what I mean? And then you compare that to your life and your days, and your stuff and you're like, wait, mine doesn't look like that. My house doesn't look like that. My career, my family doesn't look like that. That's not fair. My body doesn't look like that. That's a big one for me. But when life isn't going the way that we want it to go, and it doesn't look like that Instagram perfection, I think it's about acceptance and almost a welcoming, whether you're grieving, heartbroken, or stressed. It's like, and I think I alluded to this earlier, by resisting, we think we have the answers to these problems. You know, I've dealt with quite a lot of heartache recently in the past couple of years, and there's the little wuffler. He's just had 8 teeth out. So our dog, my mum's dog, 8 teeth. There he is, still making his little voice heard. He's accepting it. And I reckon he's healed quicker than any human, because he's just been like, oh, this is what pain is, okay. No stories from Teddy, right? I don't know if you even heard him bark, but that was a dog barking, in case you missed that. But right, back to my thread. But like, yeah, we think we have the answers, like resisting. When I was heartbroken, resisting the heartache and the pain of that, and just kind of like fighting it every day. It's going back to that tension thing. Giving yourself more tension in that moment does nothing positive. Nothing positive. Because even if we get through the heartache or that challenging time because, or despite the fact that our tension and our resistance to it, we're going to go through our lives having that kind of weird tension. If we let that tension slip, we're going to have to grieve all over again. We're going to have to be in that moment all over again. This is what kind of unresolved traumas really are, right? This tension that we put around them in order to fix them actually is just a kind of, I don't know, it's like putting a plaster on a gaping leg wound. When actually what we need to do is accept the heartache and be in it, and have it be really shitty and really difficult and really painful, and sit in it. Allow it to be here. And see if we can, weirdly as it sounds, how can we enjoy this moment a little bit more? And that is the question of this episode, isn't it? That I want you to take with you. And I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to you. How can you enjoy this moment a little bit more? How can I enjoy this a bit more? How can I enjoy this, full stop? And then, ironically, what happens is, because we're looking for solutions, right? We don't want to be in pain, whatever that pain is. But when we're tense, the solutions just don't come, because we're not open to them. We're tensing, we're bracing. But if we embrace, I love the etymology of that, like, I love to know that. Brace versus embrace. I don't know, in this context it's really interesting, isn't it? But if we embrace our moment, this pain, whatever, and soften and accept and feel more, and this is what I'm always talking about, right? Feeling more, thinking less, just feeling it, without shame, without judgment, without worry of other people judging us. If we just feel it, the solutions to these problems and challenges are actually so much more readily available, and you'll see them so much quicker and so much easier, and you'll see better solutions. You'll have more clarity, is what I'm saying. It's fascinating, really, the concept. And I think there are, to any problem that you have, so many magical solutions that right now you can't even imagine, you can't even comprehend exist at all. I mean, if we look back in our lives at the times we've gotten through challenges, the solutions to those challenges were probably not something we thought existed at the start of experiencing the challenge. But having that level of open-mindedness requires us to soften and accept, right? And also, on top of all of this, when we're allowing these moments to be here, I think then we're better able to communicate them. So going back to the stuck in traffic analogy a sec. If we're like clear-headed and, oh, I'm stuck in traffic, this really sucks, this is really crap, I'm going to be really late, or I'm going to miss this thing, then you're better placed to say, okay, it is what it is, to kind of mentally solve this problem. I don't mean that at all. I don't know what I mean. It's like we're better placed to be able to understand it more, rationalize it, and then we can communicate it. And that's the key to these problems, especially when we have other people involved in this, or when we're asking for help, or we need help. When we're allowing and we're softening and embracing it, and shifting into the concept of enjoying it a bit more, then we can communicate the things that we need and ways that we can get help and other people can help you in a way better, more clearer way. It's good for us, of course, but that means it's also really good for other people too. So I suppose, I've just kind of waffled on about this, and it's a really big topic, and again, I'm not a psychologist, and it's a really fascinating, complex, deep dive into the human psyche, isn't it? But from a kind of yogic perspective, and I mentioned that earlier, this kind of idea of a yogic life, that's a really interesting concept. I'm going to talk more about that in the next series, the next season. But for me, really, this is what joyful living is about. The yoga practice, the physical asana practice, is wonderful. But it's just a tool amongst a myriad of tools that we can use as yogis to live a more joyful, engaged, and connected life. And being able to enjoy it, because your life is fleeting, it's quick, it'll end at some point. And if that doesn't make you want to enjoy your life, then I don't know what will. And if, again, we go back to that Buddhist concept of life is suffering, then I think enjoying our lives needs to be about the hard times as well as the easy times. It's very easy, like that client of mine said, to be mindful and to be present when the present moment is nice and easy and enjoyable. And I know that saying all of this stuff to you here, oh, when you're in pain, how can you enjoy it? It's a really easy thing to say. It's like saying in the winter, do you know what you need to do to have maximum enjoyment? Turn off all your electricity and sit in the dark and the cold and just enjoy your life. Oh my God, what's wrong with you? It's like the absolute opposite of what most of us tend to want to do. But if you want to build big biceps, you go to the gym and you do bicep curls. What I'm saying is, this is it. This is the work that we need to put in. If your aim, like my aim, is to live a more connected, joyful, enjoyable, warm and fuzzy life, this is the work that we need to put in. This is the bicep curl of our ability to be calm and soft and relaxed and in the moment and connected and easygoing. I think being easygoing is such a key, because that tension that I was speaking about earlier is like the opposite of that. I don't know, this concept of being easygoing, it's fascinating to me because I'm not easygoing. I'm the most impatient, tense person ever sometimes. So this is a lot of the work that I'm putting in for my own self to live this kind of quote-unquote yogic life that I've been speaking about. So I know that this stuff is hard, and the next time you're in pain, maybe it's right now, and when I say pain, I mean any shade of pain. Life isn't going your way. Your work, your mission, if you choose to accept it, my friend, is to accept the moment, lean back, give yourself grace and space to feel the things that you're feeling, to ask for help when you need it, and just to see how you can enjoy the moment a bit more. How can you enjoy right now a little bit more? I really love that. I really love this question. So, like I mentioned, this is, did I mention? This is the last episode of 2023 of season 2. I'll be coming at you back in the podcast as of January 2024 with season 3, where we'll be continuing our conversations about joyful living, what it means to be a yogi, I suppose. I've got to have yoga in here somewhere, right? The yoga revolution. No, but this is the point, isn't it? I think, again, yoga asana, the physical practice, is brilliant, awesome, and we'll talk about that. But I think actually being a yogi is way more than that, and that's what we're here for, right? And I want to end this season, in this episode, with my GTBA, good to be alive moment. I've probably said this a million times, and the key with these, man, is to make them different, but because I can never remember. What was last week's? I don't know. But I've just been for a walk this morning in the woods, and it is late November, and it is -1, well it was, and it was sunny and beautiful. You know, like the crisp of the leaves under your boots, and the like brain freeze you get when you're breathing in through your nose. Just magic. And it was quiet, and birds, you know how it is, quite still, calm, sunny. Oh my god, just beautiful. Sunshine in the wintertime, beautiful. I love it. I love it. But what is your good to be alive moment? Could be anything. Good cup of tea, some quiet time. I love that. I love all of these moments I'm hearing from you guys. Share yours with me. I'm even going to put Spotify let me put a question, I don't know, that you can answer. Put it in right now as you finish this podcast. What is your good to be alive moment right this second, right now. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to all of my waffle casts and joy casts, maybe I should call it. I'm glad you're here with me, and I hope you're feeling a little bit more joyful and connected. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. I hope you're feeling sparkly and inspired to live a more joyful life. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a rating. These things are invaluable to me, and share it with people who need it. This is about inspiring more people to be more connected and lead happier and more joyful lives. Join my inner circle for more inspiration. Learn more at the website theyogarevolution.co.uk and chloemarkham.co.uk. I'll see you in the next episode.